The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, Chapter 11. Edward ended up at the dump. He lay on top of orange peels, coffee grounds, rancid bacon, and rubber tires. The first night he was at the top of the garbage heap, and so he was able to look up at the stars and find comfort in the light. In the morning, a short man came climbing through the trash and rubble. He stopped when he was standing on top of the highest pile. He put his hands under his armpits and clapped his elbows. The man crowed loudly. He shouted, "Who am I? I'm Ernest, Ernest who is king of the world. How can I be king of the world? Because I'm the king of garbages, and garbage is what the world is made of. Ha, ha, ha. Therefore I'm Ernest, Ernest who is king of the world," he crowed again. Edward was inclined to agree with Ernest's assessment of the world being made of garbage, especially after his second day at the dump, when a load of trash was deposited directly on top of him. He lay there buried alive. He could not see the sky, he could not see the stars, he could not see anything. What kept Edward going was what gave him hope, and was thinking of how he could finally find Lily and exact his revenge. He would pick her up by the ears. He would bury her under the mountain of trash. But afterwards, 40 days and nights had passed. The weight of the smell of the garbage above and below him clouded Edward's thoughts, and soon he gave up thinking about revenge and gave in to despair. It was worse, much worse, than being buried at sea. It was worse because Edward was a different rabbit now. He couldn't say how he was different. He just saw that he was. He remembered again Pellegrina's story about the princess who had loved nobody. The witch turned her into a warthog because she loved nobody. He understood that now. He heard Pellegrina say, "You disappoint me." "Why?" he asked her. "Why do I disappoint you?" But he knew the answer to the question too. It was because he had not loved Adeline enough, and now she was gone from him, and he would never be able to make it right. And Nellie and Lawrence was gone too. He missed them terribly. He wanted to be with them. The rabbit wondered if that was love. Day after day passed, and Edward was aware of time passing slowly because every morning he could hear Ernest performing his dawn ritual and cackling and crowing about being king of the world. On his 180th day at the dump, salvation arrived for Edward in a most unusual form. The garbage around him shifted, and the rabbit heard the sniffing and panting of a dog. Then came the frenzied sound of digging, the garbage shifting again, and suddenly, miraculously, the beautiful buttery light of afternoon shone on Edward's face. Chapter 12. Edward did not have much time to savor the light, for the dog suddenly appeared above him, dark and shaggy, blocking his view. Edward pulled off the garbage by his ears, dropped, and then picked up again, this time around the middle, and shaken back and forth with a great deal of ferocity. The little dog growled deep in his throat, and then dropped Edward again and looked him in the eye. Edward stared back. "Hey, get out of here, you dog!" It was Ernest, the king of garbages, and therefore king of the world. The dog grabbed Edward by his pink dress and shook it off, running. "This time, that's mine, all garbage is mine," Ernest shouted. "You come back here." But the little dog did not stop. The sun was shining, and Edward felt exhilarated. Who having known him before, would have thought that he could be happy now, crushed over with garbage, wearing a dress, held in the slobbery mouth of a dog, and being chased by a madman. But he was happy. The dog ran and ran until he reached the railroad track. They crossed over the tracks, and there, underneath a scaggy tree, in a circle of branches, Edward was dropped in front of a large pair of feet. The dog began to bark. Edward looked up and saw the feet were attached to an enormous man with long, dark beard. "What's this, Lucy?" said the man. He bent and picked up Edward, and he held him firmly around the middle. "Lucy," said the man, "I know how much you enjoy rabbit pie." Lucy barked. Yes, I know. Rabbit pie is a terrible, true delight of the pleasures of our existence. Lucy let a hopeful yip, And what we have here, what you have to so graciously deliver me, is definitely a rabbit, but the best chef in the world would be hard pressed to make him into a pie. Lucy growled. The rabbit is made of china, girl. The man held Edward closer to him. They looked at each other in the eye. You made it of china, aren't you, Molna? He gave Edward a playful shake. You're some child's toy, and am I right? And you have been separated somehow, the child who loved you? Edward felt again the sharp pain in his chest. He thought of Adeline. He saw the path leading to the house on Egypt Street. He saw the dusk descending and Adeline running toward him. Yes, Adeline had loved him. So, Mullen, said the man. He cleared his throat. You're lost. That's my guess. Lucy and I are lost too. At the sound of her name, Lucy let out another yip. Perhaps, said the man, you would like to be lost with us. I have found it much more agreeable to be lost in the company of others. My name is Bull. Lucy, as you may have surmised, is my dog. Would you care to join us? Well, Bill waited for a moment, staring at Edward, and then, with his hands still firmly around Edward's waist, the man reached one enormous finger up and touched Edward's head from behind. He pushed it so it looked as if Edward was nodding his head in agreement. Look, Lucy, he's saying yes, said Bull. Mullen has agreed to travel with us. Isn't that swell? Lucy danced around Bull's feet, wagging her tail and barking, and so it was what Edward took to the road with a Hubu and his dog.